Hello, Michael from CTW here, and today we are going to continue to expand on building a test. In the last video, we built a very simple test in 20 seconds and you were ready to run. Now we're going to start adding more to it to give you more data, do some things that really will expand your shock service and tuning. So we had our start recording, rod force, run test, etc. One of the things you definitely would like to do for all your dampers is do some kind of warm-up, either a time-based warm-up or temperature. Now these are the commands you get to build a test, and we have simply given you all the commands to use right up front. So for example, we want to do a timed warm-up. If I click on this, it loads over here, and if I'll drag it up, I hold with my mouse, I drag it up, and I drop it where that black line is. And then I'm going to have to grab this one and move it down. When that black line shows up, let it go. So basically, we're going to do a timed warm-up before we start recording data. And this is very critical. If the first thing you do with your damper is start collecting data, you don't have it settled. You haven't run it. Maybe it's been sitting on a shelf. Maybe it's been somewhere that it's things have changed or moved and it's not quite ready. If the first thing you do is start collecting data, it might not give you the most repeatable results. So we've added a timed warm-up. If I click on this, you can see exactly what it means. Run for a time. The default is run for 10 seconds. Do something, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever, but make sure the shocks move before you start collecting important data. You also set your speed. The default is 10 inches per second. That seems to be fine for a vast majority of racers out there. Some people have gone higher just to get some heat into the damper before they start. It is up to you. Now the alternative is to run a temperature-based warm-up. And you see now we have a time. You can see the temperature. I'm not going to drag it up there, but if I click on temperature, rather than a time-based, we have a target temperature to reach. So I think for years we've done 90 degrees, trying to warm everything up to a temperature so that they all start collecting at the same place. Typically, if you put that, maybe too low, 70 degrees, 75, 80 degrees, you get to the track and the shock's already warm. So you have to get to a temperature that's always at least going to run the shock to some degree. So you can decide timed warm-up or temperature warm-up. For instance, a time warm-up might work on a very soft shock because it just doesn't get to temperature. You have your big rebound shocks, or you have shocks that get to temperature really quick. You might use the temperature warm-up and build two different tests. Completely up to you. So I'm going to just delete that, and we're going to continue on with the time-based warm-up. So we talked about rod force. And rod force is the way the dyno will run. It will go to mid-stroke and measure the force, and it's going to call that the rod force and write it down, remove it from the data. Now, in the past, a lot of people want to also have a pressure estimation. So if I come in to over here on the command side, and I click set rod diameter, and I grab that with my mouse, hold it. If I drag set rod diameter up and let go when the black line shows up, I now have a rod diameter. I can type in whatever rod diameter you have. If all your shocks are the same, clearly you're going to only do this one time. If you're, say, a service center and you're doing multiple varieties of shocks, you might build a test for each shaft diameter. So in this case, it's 5/8. I'm going to leave it there. But what this will do is allow the software to estimate the gas pressure that's in your damper based on the rod force. So we can't measure pressure in your chamber, but we can measure the force, and we can use the area of the shaft to calculate a pressure. And we'll show you where that shows up in another video. So now we have start recording, set rod diameter, and we've run a test speed. The next thing we can do is we can do set file name. So I click on set file name, and again, drag it up to start recording. Now basically you want to do all of these between start recording and stop recording. So what set file name does is while the dyno is running, it's going to the save as screen will show up so that you can be using the software, saving the name, putting it where you want, so that when the test is actually done, it shows up on the graph immediately. You don't have to wait for the dyno to go to the bottom. You don't have to wait for the machine to stop. You can see when you click on set file name, you can tell it, if you want, where to go. If you have different directories, if you're saving to a network, any number of things, you can set where it should go. You can also type in an initial name. This could be your customer, this could be the car, this could be the racetrack, and the save as screen will come up and it will have that, and you could just type in 1 or 2 depending on what you're doing. But you can use that. This is more handy for a manufacturer that's doing a large number of batch tests, and it just automatically fills in a lot of the information for them. So that is the next thing to do for your test. Now you can see this test is built. It's still very simple, but it's going to run after warming up, do a rod force, and give you a 10 per second graph on the screen. When you're done, you're going to want to do save as, and I did, in the last video, I did my first test, and we're just going to call this expanded. And I'd be happy to share these tests with all of our customers in the future. I can put them on the website for download, and you can just bring them into your own version of Probe and use them. Now that is the other advantage of Probe, is all these tests are really individual files. You can share them, you can email them. If you have a friend in another country or another state or next door, you can email the file to him, this test, and he can run the exact same test that you are. Very easy to share, and that really helps everybody get on the same page. So there you have it. That is a more expanded test, and thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, contact us using the information in the video description.